Hello, dear ones. I attended a really sweet gathering actually this morning today with only women. It was definitely over 100 women in downtown Santa Cruz. Somebody had arranged to really help bring, in this case, women together and help us bring out our wisdom, our leadership, gifts, our gifts, whatever it is that we are able to bring, and also an opportunity to kind of hone the skills some more and feeling more comfortable in being ourselves, very much relating to what I talk about here a lot. And I chose to, they had these breakout rooms where somebody was teaching something or having an interactive exercise going on. And I was moved to join the one about how to find resiliency and peace in a world that is so divided and polarized, and how hard it is actually for most people to move through that without getting totally lost in it, because there's still so many emotions that have not been met inside, that are not at peace inside. And it was, in one way, I mean, it was really beautiful, but it was also kind of an eye opener for me, even though I talk about this all the time and work with my clients. So it's not that it's surprising, but what was surprising was, though, that there is still such a deep, deep identity with what's going on in the world, where people feel devastated and terrified of people who are not seeing it that their way. And of course, that's why I've been talking so much about it. But it was a wake-up call for me to see, as we were doing an exercise with another person, and I saw that lovely woman that I was doing the exercise with. There was so much deep, deep pain and trauma from certain things that are going on in the world where she is more connected, um, geographically and racially, that there was just a deep, deep trauma. And so it was, of course, beautiful to just do that exercise with her and just allow those feelings to be present. And the steps they taught us are very similar, to the flavor that I share here. But it touched me, and I really could see again the importance of really doing that inner work so we don't get lost in the outer division, polarity, turmoil, and whatever else we are really, really um, terrified of. So I want to just go through some of those steps here together because it felt like it was nice and condensed. So let's say here's an example of somebody has a very different, opposite opinion. Let's start with opinion. No, let's say experience. And then this person here. Let's say this person has a very different experience than you over here, if I can use that example with you. And this person says something about, what you can choose any division and conflict that's going on in the world right now. And there's plenty, plenty to choose from. So you might just maybe pick the one that's your pet peeve right now and that really, triggers you. So this person says something about whatever situation. I mean, let's say one of the wars, there's many wars, the medical shot that's been offered, um, the whole food thing, where they want to take out the dyes and the chemicals, the toxins that so everything that's going, the president, for him, against him, it really is endless. And so you just pick your favorite one that really triggers you the most. So here's this person having a very different opinion. Are you that person? No, we're pretty aligned here. Says something that is so opposite of what you feel, think, see things as, and you get super triggered. And what do you do then? Now it's in your ballpark, in your court. What do you do with this? Are you going to just contract around it and throw it back at them with your flavor of it? So that when it hits their face, they're going to let it grow and make sure that you hear what they think, how they believe, what they feel right about, and they throw it back at you. And then, that is what is happening in the world, right? I'm sure you're aware of that. That is how wars start, struggles, divorces, breakup of relationships, continuing bickering and blaming and shaming and maybe physical hurting. It's endless. My friends, we cannot keep doing that. It's not going to get better that way. It's not. It's just going to continue. So here's the invitation, right? This person, this is my experience. Bang. Super, super triggered. What do you do? First of all, you notice your body. What happens in your body? Tension, anger, energy. Notice that. You don't throw it back. It's in you, on your side of the court. It's yours. Somebody may have thrown it there, but because you picked it up, now it is yours. So what are you going to do with this trigger? You are going to notice that you are triggered. You might say, wow, that behavior, those words, that opinion, that really triggers something in me. Wow, I better take a look at that. Take a breath. Feel it to your best ability. Notice what is here, what gets triggered, what pain, what fear, what anger, what sadness, what gets triggered. Can you pause? Can you pause that default reaction that wants to gather it up and throw it back? That's number one. Can you pause your default, automatic, unconscious reaction by noticing it, right? First you go like, wow, this is like super basic, but it changes everything. You go, oh, wow, I'm triggered. There is a trigger in me. Wow. Let's just start there. And then you feel how everything is tightening up. And you feel the impulse to throw something back, to say something back, to yell, to scream, or to run. Notice that. Is it possible for you to really be present with it? If not, this is a fabulous exercise and practice to take on, and you can start taking it on with smaller triggers. It's much easier to, build the muscle at the gym with smaller weights than putting on a 500-pound weight on right away, because you're going to collapse under it and it's not going to work. So we start with small weights. Practice, whatever triggers you. You can even just think of something. It's like, oh, and then you practice going in and say, wow, let me feel that. Let me feel that. Breathe into it, and you just do your best to allow it, to make space for it so you can really be present with it. Maybe you've never done that before. So it's a very new thing then, and it's not something that comes natural when you've never done it before, right? So you just do your best here. That's all you can do. Then when you can start just like, wow, then I would say, then I would invite you to use my all formula, ALL. I've talked about that quite a bit before, stands for allow, right? We allowed it here, like, wow, I'm going to allow it, not just run from it. And then the first L, now we're going to listen to it. Like, wow, what is this? Really triggered, really angry, really sad, really scared. Like, wow, let me listen to that some deeper. And then you start learning about yourself. You get curious. Like, wow, what is this? And then as you are able to open up to listening, whatever comes out, whether it's rage or grief or fear, anger, whatever it is, you do your best to listen to it with love, with kindness, with curiosity. Oh, yeah. When that person says that, this get triggers this old memory or this pain I'm just going through or this absolute fear of what might happen to the world with people like that, seeing it that way. You just be with that and you feel what it is that what is this trigger? What can you learn about it? And what does this trigger need? The first thing it needs, of course, is your being present with it in a loving, kind, safe way. Now you're taking care of this part that all that it knew before was to just grab it, throw it back. Right? Now you are grabbing it, but not like this. You're just grabbing it, you're just scooping it up and say, oh, oh, I see you, I feel you. And this is something you can practice right now with me. It may seem boring. It's going to change your life when you really make this your daily practice. It's going to change your whole life. And eventually, the whole world is going to change when we all take on this practice. And then we start finding out what it is. And at a certain point, when we are more comfortable with it, then there could be a natural curiosity in us, because now we know that we had this trigger that just went like that. We might go like, I wonder what is going on in them that makes them see life this way, see life so differently than me, have such a strong righteousness around it. I wonder, curious, what's going on over there. And then you can think a little bit about, maybe they're scared, probably. Maybe what they want is the same that I want, is to feel safe, feel peace. Then you get curious first about yourself, right? I can be with this, but what is it that I want? I just want peace. And throwing back that energy to somebody else is not very peaceful for neither of us. So then once you have settled that trigger, explosive trigger maybe, then you can start settling down because now you're bringing some kindness and some soothing and safety to yourself. And then you start having access to, your brain again, some inspiration or some new ways of seeing it instead of that instant root chakra survival reaction. So that when that softens, we can start coming up and go like, oh. So then you start getting curious about what this person, what's going on there. And over time, this is not something we do on the first try, but over time you can go, wow, You feel really strongly about that, don't you? Yes, I feel very strongly about it. And so then you start maybe inviting them to come into some kind of an, connection where we can talk about it. My hair's. Um, and then, if this other person is curious like you are, then they can also start being present with their strong opinion, because there's a lot of energy behind it for most people. And then they will start being present with maybe their anger. And then as they start listening to that, just like you are, then they might find out like, I'm actually also really scared. And that's why I feel so strongly about it. And that's why I get so upset when people like you see it that way, because that feels unsafe to me. That's not doing what we need to do to protect our peace or to create peace. Now you have a dialogue, but that dialogue starts inside ourselves first. Because when we start feeling that peace with ourselves and the parts of us that were not at peace, now we are able over time, this doesn't happen right away, it's over time you start bringing that peace to the conversation. So they may still have that trigger, but because you are able to soothe and be present with your trigger, you don't get triggered in the same way. You might feel something, there might be a knee-jerk reaction, but you know how to be present with that and just breathe into it, be present with it, listen to it, find out what does it want. That's how we can start bringing peace to our beautiful planet that is in a big, big mess. Only you and I can do that. Every you and I, right? One at a time. I don't know how we can create peace when nobody is at peace inside, at peace with themselves, at peace with their traumas and emotions that have not yet healed. I don't know, maybe it's possible. But you start with yourself with this loving, kind, safe way of being with yourself. And then you invite the other whenever that feels natural and organic and the time is right. You might just say, wow, yeah, we are both triggered here, aren't we? And when you say it that way, it scares me, but I want to, instead of throwing it back at you to defend myself, I really want to be present with my trigger. So so it can shift, so it can heal, so I can be more at peace. And then I may have access to deeper wisdom. And when we say it that way, and this is all a practice. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm still practicing. I think I shared the other day, I got frozen by somebody who came with a very strong, and it took me a little while to be unfrozen before I could see what was going on and before I'll be able to respond in a new way, in a different way, instead of freezing, right? And not being upset, but it's like, wow, I wonder how we can talk about this without getting triggered, for instance. So, this is the ongoing invitation. And eventually, when we just feel that peace, we also know that that peace is the only thing that's going to change our circumstances. Because you can feel it. You bring that peace to somebody who is, explosive. If it's a physically dangerous situation, get out of the way, of course, or defend yourself. But when it is on a level of, communication and dialogue, do your best to just practice bringing peace. And when I am at peace, I don't react. So I don't add to the war. I don't add to the duality. I just bring my presence. And then I can just simply say, oh, wow, you really feel strongly about that. Or I noticed that you're very fiery when you talk about that. That gives the other person an opportunity to become aware of that in themselves. That's there before we project it out. It's like what happens before that energy, tenses up, tightens up, and then explodes. We go, oh, here, oh, I feel it now. Oh, yeah, I'm tensing up. And then you want to get curious, like, okay, now I want to find out what is going on with me. And the bottom line is, my friends, and we know this mentally, but to really start experiencing that when you are connecting with somebody in that way, you will you will simply experience that we want the same. We want the same. We see everything the same way when we go inside. We know what's true because what's true is what's common sense. What's true is what we intuitively know. And that's really where we want to go, right? So then we don't need to get into that stuff anymore. We can really be the solution to the world. And I very warmly invite you to take that on as a practice. It is so beautiful. I experience it more and more in myself. Every time I meet a trigger in that way, it softens. And next time it's not there. So I can show up more present, more peaceful. And that has an impact because if I don't engage in their fire, where's it going to go? It has to somehow dissolve because that fire, that projection needs something to project onto. And if I come as the peaceful presence where there's no hooks, no triggers to hang their projection on, okay, we'll see what happens. They may get more upset. That can very well happen because when they don't have something to project it onto, like you don't know what to do with it. But then if I'm able to say like, wow, you feel strongly about this, or it seems like there's a lot of pain there, or whatever, then they have a little opportunity to go in and be curious about their own experience underneath that projective energy. I felt moved to share this because it was it was beautiful to see everybody really working hard on that. And I can see how difficult it is for people. I think that's what surprised me the most, how difficult it is to do that. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised because I see it all the time, but somehow it's like, wow, this is really something we need to learn and take very seriously if you want a world that is based on peace. All right, dear one, thank you for listening. Give it a try. If you want to join me this coming Tuesday, what would that be? Is it October 6th or 7th? On Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month. We have an online gathering where we can practice all this. We can really dive deeper into it, how to be present with who we are and get in touch with that divine alignment to start shining through. Have a beautiful day.